outside of Studio D. Yeah.
Have you ever
Because that's
won
what
a fight?
happens here
Fight Club him.
at Cardinal Film Fights. This is Cardinal Film Fights. Welcome. You found yourself in the right place. This is the place where Cardinals fight for money and people fight about movies. My name's Justin Branson, and I'll be your host, judge, and moderator. And these people will at some point fight. Now, if you'd like to know them before they fight, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And start over here. Do name, major, and say something interesting about your life.
Hi, I'm Steven Mason. I'm a TCOM major, and I joined the police force just to kill people.
I never said it had to be true.
My name is Taylor Scarborough. I'm an English and anthropology major, and I seriously doubt that to the fullest extent.
Wow.
I'm Ethan Fowler. I'm a Japanese major here at Ball State, and some people are really weirded out that I only wear plain colors.
You're weird, Ethan. Stop doing it.
It's not weird.
Stop it.
No.
Stop it. You're a
that.
psychopath.
It's a lifestyle choice, and I appreciate it. So, today we're going to be arguing about the best anime fight. And there are aplenty, so I'll be interested to see what these fine people chose. We're going to argue this out in the normal fashion with 1 minute to introduce your topic, 5 minutes to fight it, and 30 seconds to conclude it. So we'll start with our introductions, as most people start with introductions.
Oh.
1 minute on the clock. Start over there and work our way back.
Oh, okay. So when this question is proposed to me, usually there's one fight that comes to mind, and that's the Gon versus Pedo fight from Hunter x Hunter. Now, the fight really of itself is a one-sided bash, but it's what the fight is in perspective to the show. You see, the Hunter x Hunter is typically just a shonen with a main character, Gon, who is rather a happy-go-lucky character. He's, he just has a simple goal of just to find his dad. But by this point in the show, Gon has had one of his friends turn into a lifeless corpse, and he's not really happy about this. And he was turned into some lifeless corpse by a creature. Gon went, sought out, and found this creature. And basically, he went from a happy, 10-year-old to, a insidious, rageful, and insidious creature, and within the animation of itself, aged 15 years, and gave all of his power, potential, and now, just to kill this thing. And it wasn't even the final boss of the arc. It was just some mini-boss. But he hated it so much. There was so much determination to end this thing, he just put it all on the line for right then.
So impassioned. I like that.
So whenever I think about anime fights, my mind immediately goes to the Naruto and Sasuke fight when Sasuke leaves the village in the Naruto series. The iconic fight that ends up changing the entire storyline from the series from that point on, as well as creating most of the plots in the Naruto Shippuden series. This fight is so iconic that even people I have spoken to who have never seen an episode of Naruto in their lives have watched this fight. When you ask people about fights, if this is not in their top 10, that would surprise me, because whereas it does have a lot of plot on the story, and it may not be as showy with jutsus as later fights are, it is the fight that has literally started Naruto's journey with a true passion inside of it. So in conclusion, this fight was badass, it had great plot points, and I loved watching Sasuke leave.
Interesting. So, the best fight in anime, for my money, is Team Dai-Gurren versus the Anti-Spirals at the end of the show, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, usually called Gurren Lagann. And the series starts with the human forces working their way up from underground, fighting their oppressive overlords, all the way up to the stars, continually raising the stakes, getting bigger, getting stronger, doing everything they can just to survive and thrive. And once they finally reach this final goal, they're standing atop galaxies with nowhere else to go except right here and right now. And they fight against the oppressive overlords who want humanity to just stagnate, be safe, don't change whatsoever, and never let anything bad happen ever again. And it brings in the entire team, everybody we've seen up to now, and they make it work.
Now, we're going to enter our own fight. Perhaps the best Cardinal film fight. Who knows? Let's put the time on the clock, and we'll see, I guess.
So, Steven, what you described to me was basically every climax fight in any anime, where it's just a build up and build up and build up until you get to the climax fight.
Do you see regular anime standing on galaxies?
Actually,
Yes.
I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Any sci-fi anime ever, yes.
Really?
and
Really?
And in
Kill
Gurren
la Kill ended in space. That
Yes,
fight was
it
done
did.
in space.
That's true.
That-
Were they standing atop galaxies? Were they literally
were
as
in a
big
galaxy.
as galaxies? Pick two up, mash them together, big bang, attack them.
Again,
Did that happen?
It just sounds like you're just going through the progressions of this. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just every fight.
Eventually,
It's-
that is where Dragon Ball will go.
Of course it will. But Gurren Lagann, it fits. Everything was made to the progression. And once it hit the top, it had nowhere else to go but right there. And that's exactly what it was always aiming for. The final confrontation, the final fight, the final hit. You get to see the progression that they went through. In the final clash, where the mech gets progressively smaller and smaller as everybody teeters off, leaving only the protagonist to save the day. And he's propelled by his friends and everybody who's riding on him to succeed.
You're right. He was propelled by his friends. He was propelled by his friends' bodies because as the fight continues, everybody dies. Therefore,
they
it
don't.
had nowhere else to go.
No, they do not die.
Okay, not everybody
This is not
dies,
true.
but a lot of the characters do.
No,
Not-
this is
only
not,
a few died
not
in that
true.
one.
Not true.
But like, if we're gonna look at it like that, I would like to say that the best fights are the most memorable ones. And Gurren Lagann, again, is just it sits with the formula of usually everything goes and goes and goes and it reaches a point and that's the climax fight. And it's a pretty good fight, but it's not the most memorable one, as it just seems like it's just one of the many. Where the Gon versus Pedo fight, it's something we don't really see in anime or even really many like places where the main character doesn't confront the final boss. He doesn't confront like some bigger force. He just finds his force and he puts all of his will. Like the fight stands out because of the dedication and will to just do one thing. Like it's not like it's going to impact a lot of people or it's not going to impact the world, but it's just his fight. He makes it like so personal, and it's a different shift compared to what your fight is. It's where it seems more the typical formula for an anime fight. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger to get to the climax.
Except for that the Naruto and Sasuke fight also does that and actually affects a large portion of the plot revolving the story around. It proves
Excuse
to
me.
the point.
I have to say, the Naruto versus Sasuke first fight the end of Naruto is not even the best fight they had together. At the end of the series was their best fight.
It's
This
not-
first fight, it had zero stakes other than Sasuke come back to the village, and he doesn't even succeed at that. It is not brutal. It is not down to the wire.
But it's not just about Naruto. It's also about Sasuke because the characters are two individuals. And whereas it isn't the flashiest, it is one of the most memorable. They have learned better moves and they have gotten better at fighting by the end of the series. But a lot of the scenes from the last fight they had together at the end of Shippuden also were similar to parallels to the first fight before Sasuke left the village. It's a clash of two wills, as we often see, but these are two characters we have been brought up to root for and to support, clashing with each other as best friends often do in real life. Now, they may not try and kill each other, but in the end, I would argue that Sasuke never tried to kill Naruto because he had the chance. It's a relationship coming to a close, coming to a moment that they can never come back from before they find each other again in the future.
I will also say, the fight is too long. Without any flashbacks or cutaways to other people, the fight racks in 23 minutes of just nonstop pummeling. And it's not even particularly good most of the time. It's just hit, 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 hit. It gets boring. The Gurren Lagann fight doesn't waste a single movement. It is 7.5 minutes of pure climax that needs nothing else. The Gon vs. Pito fight, while a shorter amount of time, consists of 4 moves, and 3 of those minutes consist of inner dialogue and them just changing location after Gon's transformation. It's a bit wrapped in and of itself, and just raises question marks.
Again, it's not the fight itself that makes it great. It's the perspective of the fight. And then before we wrap up, I would almost argue for the Naruto fight, it doesn't have enough momentum yet for me to cement it as one of the best. It's not far enough where it needs
But
to
it
be.
is an iconic one.
Now, You will have your 30 seconds to wrap these fellers up, and then I'll get nearly no time to deliberate. 30 seconds on the clock. Do you want to start with Steven? All right.
Okay. So, the Gurren Lagann fight, while it is not unique, it does the model to the absolute best it could possibly get. It's the culmination of the theme against stagnation. It raises the stakes with escalation, and everything is wrapped up by the end of it beautifully. The Naruto versus Sasuke fight does not finish things, it just leaves things open. And the Gon versus Pito fight, while flashy, doesn't really matter.
The Naruto versus Sasuke fight does not finish things, but it does add a chapter in the story that that has waves of effects afterwards. Now, as for Naruto and Sasuke themselves, this is the moment where they change. And again, if you ask people who do not watch a lot of anime, many have seen this fight. Maybe not everybody, but it is so iconic, it stays in the memory, and that is why it is the best, because it's memorable, unlike Gurren Lagann.
So to build upon the best fight is a memorable fight. And when it comes to the Gurren Lagann fight, again, it follows a formula. It may do it better, but it falls into a sea of a bunch of different fights. And it ends up like going over my mind, and I can go back to it and be like, yeah, that was really good. But it never jumps to my forethought when I'm asked the question, what's the best anime fight? That fight would have to be Gon versus Pito because of the altercation and the difference it is when compared to a lot of the other fights in anime.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Oh, no. Stop.
All right.
Okay.
Oh no.
Johnny Bravo in here.
Get that a lot, actually. Thanks.
Is it the muscles?
It's the muscles
It's the
and the hair.
hair.
Yeah. I'm not going to flex on camera because I
The
don't want
way
to break
he
it.
says all right.
Yeah. With your ugliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to affect my judgment at all now, is it,
Oopsies.
Steven?
It's
Yeah.
after the timer, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
And don't tell me how to host my own show.
Oh, fuck.
Host the club show. I love all of you, and we're all integral parts to this working.
This is my first time. I'm not that worried.
So for the best anime fight, I'll tell you what's not the best anime fight, and that is Naruto versus Sasuke. Well, while a lot of people seeing it doesn't necessarily make it good or even the best, it doesn't hold the weight that either of these other options do. I understand your attachment to it for what it is and for what it does for the series, but just doesn't have the spectacle that would, or even the emotional appeal, quite like either of the others. So, third place, Naruto. In second place, we have Gurren Lagann. So, you do have an epic story. You do get to see the power creep of all of these characters. It is quite the spectacle. There's 7.5 minutes of climaxing. Yes, he said that on Cardinal Film Fights, and no one pointed it out, so I thought I'd take my time here during my deliberation.
Stand by it.
So if you're looking for 7.5 minutes of climax, go ahead and watch this clip. And in first place, we have Ethan. Good sir. He's thumbs up, and I think that's a positive thing. I'm not too hip with human emotions. So, although it may seem like a one-sided bash, it is fueled by revenge and pure emotion. It is so much on the line from a personal standpoint that he puts everything into it. And you know what? You just argue well. I like you.
Thank you.
You're a good kid. I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks, Dad.
That's been all for Cardinal Film Fights today. Feel free to tune in next time because we do fun things. You can go ahead and like this video and tell us what you think we should argue or tell us who you think should have won because I'm not the most studied anime scholar. I don't like that I just said that out loud. So if you want to follow us on social media, you can do that at Card Film Fights. Interact with us. Send us funny pictures or memes. We won't check them. So, I think it's been a pretty good time here. So, have a good day and good luck.